Cherokees.
A thriving American Indian tribe.
Our history.
Our culture.
Our people.
Our future.
The principles of a historic nation.
Sewn into the fabric of a modern world.
Hundreds of thousands strong. Learning.
Growing.
Succeeding.
And steadfast.
In the past, we have persevered through struggle.
But the future is ours to write.
Osiyo.
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 These are the voices of the Cherokee people.
I'm Principal Chief Bill John Baker, Osiyo, and welcome to the Cherokee Nation. We're so proud to share our stories with you. Wado.
Osiyo, it's how we say hello in Cherokee. And welcome to Cherokee, North Carolina, home of the Eastern Band of Cherokees in the Great Smoky Mountains. Each year, several young Cherokees begin an incredible journey here, a 3-week-long bike ride along the Trail of Tears, from these original homelands to Oklahoma, where the Cherokee Nation has been since the federal government forced our removal. The Remember the Removal ride is more than just a bike ride. It's a major commitment for these cyclists and an emotional undertaking, as these young Cherokees learn firsthand the plight of their ancestors and find the strength to persevere.
Coming into the mountains, it just had this strange effect. It just felt like I was coming back to a place that I'd missed. I didn't know that I had missed it. It was like I was coming home.
I hope everybody makes it. Come on, you got it. Your ancestors walked it. You can ride it. Come on.
That's our home. I know it's the most beautiful place in the world. I can't not imagine like actually having to leave there and maybe never seeing it again.
It's a memorial to our people. This is a really treacherous, difficult trip for these young people. By the end of it, they have a better understanding what it really means to be a people. We're going to see what happened to our people, and the brutality that happened to our people is worth remembering. It's a life-changing experience.
In today's classes, like in the history classes, there's like one page devoted to the Trail of Tears.
I want to know more. If we don't know this stuff, then it's going to get lost.
I'm going to really know for the first time fully what it means to be Cherokee, because I'm going to experience one fraction of what they went through.
It's a very moving time, just to honor the people that made the trip the first time. You know, the ones that didn't make it, the ones that did make it. Just in honor of everything that did happen.
Most people don't realize to the degree of how brutal the Cherokee removal was. We didn't want to move to Oklahoma, but the brutality of it, you know, the first 1,800 were forced from their homes onto boats, suffered great loss. It was the removal of our homeland away from everything we knew. Our stories are tied to it. So when these kids travel this whole distance and see all these major sites, they're changed. They bleed, they sweat, they cry. It's hard on them, and they do it as Cherokees. They do it together.
Getting prepared for this has been extremely fun. I've been waiting for months for this, and I'm ready now.
We found out, those of us that are on the ride, that we got accepted in January, and we really started training in early February. So I mean, it's been a pretty long process. Ever since then, you know, it's been bike training.
At the very beginning, training was difficult, but I just remembered my ancestors went through worse than I did.
In our send-off ceremony, I didn't really understand the spiritual, emotional, mental kind of toll that it takes on you.
Have a great trip. Love you too.
Oh, it was emotional, saying goodbye to my mom and my brother.
As we were leaving, I had to leave my nephew, and I did not want to. I was there the day he was born. And it was hard leaving him because I know I'm going to miss so much.
Bye, KK. By the way.
Wave.
I think it's weird because we've been training for so long and the end is finally, like the goal is finally in sight. Like it's been months.
Yeah. It's gonna be fun.
The car ride was phenomenal with all the friends that I've made, and it was a great time.
The first thing we did was we drove from Tahlequah, Oklahoma, all the way out to Cherokee, North Carolina to meet up with the Eastern Band.
In 2011, the Eastern Band started sending riders with us, which I think is really important.
Arriving in North Carolina and meeting the Eastern Band and everything was amazing.
You know, we get to learn a lot about each other, you know, and become friends, you know, a bond that we, you know, will share for a lifetime with this experience.
We do have our differences, you know, our cultural differences, but a lot of stuff still is the same.
It kind of shows that we are one people. We come in solidarity to honor this event that affected both of us. We get genealogists to actually go through their kids' past. And once they do our genealogy, we know where our families came. And they track it from removal time all the way back, and sometimes to the 1700s.
Knowing about our ancestors, knowing about each other, where we each come from.
It's one thing to talk about who your relatives are, but it's another to see them.
Charles Hicks, he was a principal chief, so I'm a direct descendant of his brother, William.
Tristan Tremblay is actually my third cousin. Didn't know that.
Haley Cavanis, she's a direct descendant of Sequoia, which she didn't even know about.
That's what gets me through this ride now, is knowing I can do it for him. You're not doing this alone.
One of the most significant historic sites in the old Cherokee Nation is New Echota, our former capital in Calhoun, Georgia.
New Echota was the capital of the Cherokee Nation leading up to the removal and the Trail of Tears. This time the government was operating, covering about 15,000 Cherokee in the east of the Mississippi River. The official capital was designated in 1825, and so you had buildings that were here already. 48 buildings, 4 dozen would have included the public buildings like the Council House behind me, the Supreme Court House, but it also, of course, included people's houses, their cabins, typical farmhouse of that time period. It's the location for where the current government that they operate under started. This is where the Constitution was written, and this is where the foundation for what they're governed under today started. It's the beginning point for Native American journalism. The first Native American newspaper in a native language, the Cherokee Phoenix, and later called the Phoenix and Indians Advocate, was started right here at New Echota. And it's really the first attempt at a native tribe for a Republican form of government. It's the starting point to a lot of people for the Trail of Tears. But because the Treaty of New Echota was signed here, a lot of people consider this the official starting location of the removal.
The Remember the Removal bike ride is tough on the riders, both physically and mentally. They'll ride several hundred miles in the heat of the summer across 6 states and over 3.5 weeks. Many of the riders say there's something special about this part of the country, the original Cherokee homelands. They found a feeling of belonging and a deep sense of loss, and that helps push them forward.
It was pretty moving when we first started seeing the hills, and you started thinking, you know, these are the same hills that my ancestors looked at, you know, for thousands of years, and they walked around in here and they lived here and they're buried here. I think we all in the van, we all kind of felt it. It was kind of like felt like we were home a little bit.
Getting to see all the historical sites and knowing that my ancestors walked along the trail and that I'm retracing their footsteps. It's amazing that we have this opportunity to do this.
Oh, yours. That's good.
You know, pretty tired. I'm pretty tired. It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's the first ride.
We have a small prayer normally, and then we do the war call. It's kind of like us, each of us calling for the challenge of the day, whether it's climbing a big mountain, whether it's a long day, whether it's the rain, or whatever the conditions may be. We're just making that challenge to
to ourselves and for ourselves.
Woo!
I found mine, part of my family. This is Ellis Sanders Harlan. He's from Georgia. I guess these numbers mean like the 4 means that's the number of Cherokees that were with him. The 1 is the number of white people, and the 0 is the number of slaves that were with him.
Alex actually translates to Alec in Cherokee, and the name Alex is actually passed down through our family.
It's pretty cool because like this is the last time we're spending in the Old Nation. You know, after we're getting ready to cross the ferry, and we're gonna see what they saw when they were leaving for the last time. We're gonna see the mountains for the last time, and after that, it's just gonna be following the trail. It's gonna be no more time spent in the Old Nation.
So today we go up Cumberland, and it's one of the more difficult days. It's one that we train for, but it's hard to train for something like this when we don't have anything like the geographic stuff where we're from.
When we hit the Cumberland Gap, it's going to be ridiculously hard because it's just going to be going uphill.
It's huge, and it's going to take a lot of mental and physical ability.
Going up Cumberland without stopping is going to be a challenge.
Today we are finally going up Cumberland Gap, our big huge mountain, and it's a pretty big day.
I think we're ready. Yeah. We train on a lot of hills.
We will see struggle from probably everyone because I don't think you can ever truly be ready for Cumberland Gap unless you've already done it.
Today's the day. Today is the day we climb Cumberland.
I'd be lying if I said I wasn't nervous really bad. So far, it's just a long gradual incline. We're rolling into it. Doesn't look too bad so far. We're slowing down. I'm gonna lose my momentum. They weren't kidding about this being a big old mountain. Okay. Now it's getting pretty steep. Come on, baby. This is it. What I've been training so hard for. I'm tired. I want to quit. It's hard to be in the back because, well, you're working a lot harder.
We're gonna ice it and take some medicine and see how we feel. I just don't want her to hurt it any more than she has.
I'd still like to be able to say that I made it up Cumberland, and I can't say that.
Wasn't as bad as I thought. Cumberland Gap has officially been accomplished and conquered.
When we finally realized that it was the last downhill of the Cumberland, I just tucked in real hard, took off pedaling, got around. I was amazed. I didn't think I was gonna break 50, but I checked my max speed and it was at 55.3. So.
Come on, baby. Come on, we can go faster. Come on. Woo!
From New Echota, Georgia, we went from there our first day to Red Clay, Tennessee, which was another capital that they had before removal. We spent, I think, 4 days in Tennessee. We were in Kentucky for a couple days. We made it across Illinois in 1 day. And we've been in Missouri for the past, I think, 3-4 days.
Missouri is treacherous. One of the roughest places you can go. It's got rough roads. Most of the kids just call Missouri misery. You're going through big hill changes, but not mountains, just constant hills. So you don't ever get any relief.
I keep having to push my helmet down so the rain won't sting my eyes.
At one point we were going down a really steep hill, and I swear I went down that whole hill with my eyes closed.
You're tired, difficult, discomfort and pain, and your butt hurts because you're sitting on a seat all day.
Physically, mentally, emotionally, I've never been challenged like this in my life. I just always think about, my ancestors and, like, I can do this.
It's been a really enjoyable experience, and I'm looking forward to being able to say I did it, I finished it.
Most emotional thing was Mantle Rock. That was really emotional, just being under there and realizing that we're sitting where all of our ancestors are sitting.
It's the largest, natural freestanding arch. What was so significant about that was it was where the Cherokees camped. They were waiting to cross the river because it was iced over, and a lot of them died there.
When we got there, it was way more powerful than I ever imagined it would be.
We all just sat down on the ground and just took a minute to reflect. We were all crying by the end of it, and it was just, that hit me the most. It was just really emotional, and I try to put myself in their shoes, and I can't imagine going through that.
For me, it's always been that trail. It breaks you down. You're like, they made them walk where the buffalo herds were. It just kind of makes me a little angry.
That was something very special. Just being able to lay there, and I laid down under the rock and knowing that they had laid there 177 years ago. It was a sight to see.
We had a really neat experience going out to the Echota Mound and just being spoken to. And we were standing at the center of the mound, which was where the council house was in Echota, which was the first, the mother town of the Cherokees. And one of the things he said, all of our grandmothers and our grandfathers are buried here. And that really sunk in, and I never felt connected to a place before like I had that, because, not just my grandmothers and my grandfathers, but everybody in that circle.
The Cherokees, as they were leaving, they got one last glimpse of the mountains, and they turned around and said thank you to the mountains. And I felt that. I was like, whoa, it's amazing. I feel like I know so much more about where my people came from.
We've all became one big family again, like we were at the beginning. We were all Cherokee, now Eastern Band and Cherokee Nation, but as a team and riding again, we're all just Cherokee.
You see them changing, every day. They're starting to become different. They've experienced too much, and they're not the same little kids that we picked up in Oklahoma. When they ride back into town, they're a little more mature. They get the idea of the finality of life and the importance of each other and the responsibility of that.
One of the major historic sites along the Trail of Tears is the Van House, which has been turned into a state park in Chatsworth, Georgia.
This is by far the best preserved historic Cherokee Indian home in existence. It's the home of Joseph Van. It was built in 1818. Very little of the structure has ever been altered. So once you step inside, you're 200 years in the past. The Vans were the wealthiest Cherokee family in the Cherokee Nation prior to the Trail of Tears. They were merchants. The Vans were the largest slave-owning family in the Cherokee Nation, and not only were they slave owners, they were importers as well. It started with a patriarch named James Van, who was half Cherokee, and he grew up speaking both his father's English and his mom's Cherokee. So he was bilingual at a very convenient time, 1768. And he becomes a delegate from the Cherokee Nation to Washington. But because they happened to be partially Cherokee, they were also forced out. The state of Georgia wanted ways to evict the wealthy Cherokee early, because a lot of these wealthy mixed bloods were the leadership of the times. So they made a law specific to wealthy Cherokee, saying that any Cherokee who continues to employ white people violates Georgia law, and they must leave their land immediately. They evict Joe Van by force from this house. And that's where you saw the burn mark on the landing. The soldiers came in, took a burning log, threw it on the landing of the staircase to smoke everyone out. It's one of the few places where you can say with certainty, this family's Trail of Tears starts right on this spot.
The Brainard Mission Cemetery, a sacred acre burrowed in present-day Chattanooga, Tennessee, encroached by its busy streets and a bustling shopping center. In the 1800s, the cemetery laid along the rolling hills of the old Cherokee Nation, nestled alongside the Brainard Mission Station, where Reverend Daniel Buttrick worked as a missionary to the Cherokees. Reverend Buttrick's journal is one of the only detailed first-hand accounts of the Trail of Tears and tells the tragic stories of several Cherokees buried in this hallowed ground. His journal begins in 1838, as Cherokees who had not already left for the West were rounded up into concentration camps, one of them near this site. June 17, 1838. On this day we were called to follow the remains of a poor Cherokee woman to the grave. I knelt down and prayed for her dear departing soul. I was at once overcome and wept aloud in contemplating the condition of these dear sick people. June 18, 1838. Today we are called to perform the funeral obsequies of a little child who died with the body flux. His afflicted mother was permitted to fetch him from the camps this morning. The child seemed already in the agonies of death when she arrived. On the 19th, the young man above mentioned was carried to the grave, and on the 20th, a middle-aged woman followed. June 28, 1838. It is said that many old women driven in this company cried like children when they started, saying they never could live to walk that journey in this hot season, but their cries could not be heard. They were driven on. After weeks on their bike, the cyclists have made strong and lasting connections with their fellow riders. They've gained a deeper understanding of the stories and histories of their ancestors. They've walked on the same ground and slept on the same soil, and that, they say, gives them a sense of purpose as they return home.
You have these immense feelings just coming out, and you don't know how to feel, and you don't know what to say, and you don't know how to think, and it's overwhelming at first, but then you get to the point where you're like, wow, I bet this is how our ancestors felt as well.
We've all said it a million times, and there's really no other way to describe it, but we really are one big family. I love them all. They're all very strong riders. They're all very funny people. They're nice, and they're great, and it sucks having to say goodbye to them and see them leave. Going to the water was very emotional. Just the fact that we were blessed. We had a Cherokee elder come, and he blessed us at the water. That was very emotional.
And at one point, I just felt this tingling on my spine, and it was almost like someone was there, putting their hands on me, but not pushing, just placing their hands. And it was so weird because I just felt it on my spine and on my back, and I was like, somebody's here with us. Somebody is saying, you know, we're proud of you, good job.
We rode by places where people were buried and where people had to bury their children and people had to bury their parents. They had to bury their past and their future.
When I felt like I was home was when I crossed the Oklahoma state line, and I was just flooded with emotions. I just couldn't stop thinking about my family and my nation, the town, and I just wanted to come back and see everything.
It's hot everywhere, that's for sure, but it's pretty hot here, and a lot less mountains. You know, there's no pretty mountains around like we have back home. For the ones that did make the journey, and you know, we always talked about when they did leave and they had to turn around and look at those mountains one last time that they had called home for hundreds of years, and they were never going to make it back there. And whenever we crossed Black's Ferry and did that same thing, turning and looking back at the mountains for one last time, it's to know that, you know, they were never coming back to those mountains, but we'll get to come back. I'll be back at them, you know, in 2 days.
It's just really awesome that now everyone sees it as home, and also to us Eastern Band too. This is, you know, our second home. where a lot of our people still live.
That moment when you see that big sign that says, you know, historic downtown Tahlequah, and it says follow the signs.
And then when we hit the Water Street, it was like all the way down. There was people on both sides cheering. It was awesome.
We came around the courthouse, and just to see everybody there, that was really powerful.
The whole time riding into Tahlequah, I had tears in my eyes knowing that it was going to be any turn that I'd see them. And then we made the loop around the square here and rode up on the sidewalk, and everybody rode into the tent. And I stopped early and jumped off my bike to hug my boys and my wife. That's been the hardest part of the journey, is being away from them for 3 weeks. But, the whole time I knew I was going home to them, and our ancestors weren't. And that's the one thing that kept me going, was I knew that I would see them again, and I did.
My mom has played both roles in my life. She's been the father and the mother. So just coming back and seeing her and showing her that, hey, I'm the son you raised. This is what I've accomplished, but I couldn't have done it without you. She's really, she's done a lot for me. I love her to death, and it was just good to see her again.
I've learned so much about myself, and I mean, it's all thanks to my team. And there was times when I just thought I couldn't make it any longer, and it's because of my team I found that strength inside of myself to keep going, and because of our people. So I'll definitely take that, you know, confidence back home, that whenever I put my mind to do something, I can do it.
I mean, I was thinking this weekend's gonna be the first like bike ride free weekend I've had since January. It's gonna be hard. Not to see everybody's faces or talk to them, or this was just a great thing.
We stopped at many burial sites, and we didn't even know who was buried there. And so for me, what I'm gonna take is that we should not only honor those that we know, but we should also honor those that didn't make it, that we don't always know their name.
And like everyone else has said, we are one big family now. We started out as two, and we are one big family now.
Before we go, on behalf of the entire OsiyoTV team, we'd like to say thank you to all of the riders from the Cherokee Nation and from the Eastern Band for sharing their personal experiences with us. It's only fitting that there is no Cherokee word for goodbye, because we know we'll see you again. So until then, wado or shki.